What is the most unfunny show you watched? So I'm inclined to say How I Met Your Mother because holy shit I hate that show. That I'd really have to say Mr. Robinson. Very short-lived show featuring Craig Robinson from The Office Daryl. He was like a fill-in music teacher or something who ends up trying to instill a love of music in to kids. Very tired trope, but just the writing and acting and absolutely everything about it was a train wreck. Could not believe how bad it was. Completely absurd. My wife and I watched SNL yesterday for the first time in probably 10 years. My god, if I go another 10 without seeing it, I don't think I'll miss anything. Just painfully unfunny. Kenan Thompson is the only cast member who has any kind of comedic chops, but even he can't save that show. I don't know who they make it for, but it doesn't feel like the average 35-year-old is their target audience. Ned Stacy. I was at a taping of the show before the show started airing, and you could have heard a pin drop when most of the jokes were told. The only time the audience laughed at all was for the bloopers. I watched the show when it aired, mostly out of curiosity, and they had edited all the laughing from the outtakes TK Mescott looked like we were actually laughing at their awful jokes. Friends, I haven't watched every episode, but I remember it always being on when flicking through cable. If nothing else was on, I'd watch an episode, or watch it if I was too lazy to get up and change the Chanel remote died and couldn't find a replacement for about a month. It was boring. Jokes weren't clever or slapstick laugh out loud. Terrible show. The Bear, which just won the Emmy and Golden Globe for Best Comedy, is not funny at all. Told me it's dark humor. I usually like dark humor. It's always sunny. Barry. What We Do in the Shadows. Only Murders in the Building. Last Man on Earth. This didn't seem like humor at all to me. It's a straight-up drama. Maybe 1 week chuckle per episode. In the 90s, there was a show called Two Guys, a Girl, and a pizza place that was supposed to be like a Friends ripoff. It was just awful. The plot of the episode I watched was one of the guy's girlfriends wanted to move in with him, and he was iffy about it. So she moved into his building. That was the whole plot. And it was supposed to be funny. I never really got the humor of shows like Friends or Big Bang Theory. It just all feels like the same jokes told over and over again. They just aren't that funny, especially because BBT. A lot of the jokes revolving that one character was literally just he can't talk to women. Okay, we get it. He can't talk to women. Do something else now. The Velma show. Like from Scooby-Doo. Like what was that show? They tried way too hard to represent the LGBTQ community. It felt so forced. There was no Scooby, which is literally the main character in the show original show. And it was way too gross. The panic attack scenes were unrealistic, and who the hell is Norville? Like I know Shaggy. Am I the only one to think Big Bang Theory was just corny and not funny? I've often said that Community was a smart show about dumb people, and BBT was a dumb show about smart people. Edit. I've scrolled down further after posting, and I've seen quite a few mentions of this show. I'm glad to know I'm not alone. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Had to look up the name even though I saw almost the entire thing when I was ill. Terrible show. Never made me laugh once. I probably smiled for times during the entirety of the show. Also The Pacific. That was not a funny show at all. Seinfeld. Rip my inbox. It's like Sesame Street's my first Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I've never laughed a single time. Watching it once it hit syndication. If people tell me they like Seinfeld and Friends, I immediately feel a certain way about them. As someone who enjoyed Brickleberry enough to actually finish watching the show, I want to nominate Paradise PD, and I'm sure if I ever let curiosity get the better of me I'd add Farzar to the list, but I have zero intention to watch it. Last Man Standing. It's just not funny, a half-hearted reboot of Home Improvement, and has genuinely disturbing takes. Remember Cartman's Minorities in My Water Park song? Last Man Standing is that played straight and serious. Unpopular opinion probably, but for me it was Seinfeld. I watched a few episodes in the hospital and didn't laugh once. Also not sure if I should count Big Mouth, since it was so boring and terrible. I quit watching after 10 minutes. I don't remember the name, but it's with Steve Carell and John Malkovich, and it takes place at some space institute or whatever. I watched the first season, but damn, it really sucked. Basically no laughs at all. The Office for me, nitrogen monoxide. I'm not trying to be special. I truly never understood the hype and I have given it its chances. And I like shows with a similar style like Parks and Rec and Arrested Development. Any of the remake sequel series to old shows from the 80s, 90s. IMO, what made the OGs great was the lack of PC humor and writing. They try to go woke these days and it's just unfunny and sad. Workaholics. I walked into a room that it was being played in and I became genuinely angry after watching a minute or so. How bad do you have to be at a comedy show to make someone mad? MLPG 5 was the most anger-inducing show that I've watched. The worst thing about it is that they made Spike a bite, not a necessarily unfunny show. But I just generally dislike it. Monty Python. How does anyone think this is funny? When I was a kid in the late 70s, it was the only show on at a certain time right after Benny Hill, which was even more unfunny. Do you like unfunny boomer humor? Do you want a show that has made maybe one funny joke in its entire runtime, that somehow lasted 9 seasons? Then you'll love Last Man Standing. Ready for it, S. Creek. I understand why people like it but never produced a laugh from me or my wife. It felt like a comedy theory course with an emphasis on theory. The Eric Andre Show. It's just slapstick. And not the best either. Similarly, Nick Swardson is either a genius or a moron. And the line is impossibly thin. I hate Family Guy so deeply and completely. And all of its cursed spin-offs. Seth MacFarlane should have stuck with being a smarmy lounge singer. I think you should leave. All he does is scream. It was barely funny when Tom Green was doing it. It is absolutely unbearable 25 years later. Modern Family, I just don't get. I've tried watching several episodes, and I still can't figure out what everyone else sees in this show. I haven't watched much TV. A friend mentioned I should check out The Big Bang Theory. 10 minutes in and I got up to do yard work. Saturday Night Live, how is it still going? Are people actually watching it? It is the most unfunny comedy show I've ever seen. Friends and Seinfeld. Not trying to be an edgelord. Married with Children had more witty dialogue than these shows. Big Bang Theory and To Broke Girls. The most obvious and least clever jokes ever in the history of television. John Mulaney is my favorite comedian. His sitcom Mulaney is one of the least funny sitcoms I've ever watched. Disenchantment. I want to like it. But the humor writing is lazy and too reliant on character mannerisms. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Gave it 4 seasons. Didn't laugh once. A close second would be Community. Big Bang Theory ... Yeah, that's right, I said it. Show fucking sucks. I don't care that I'm in the minority. Back in its heyday, the first tried to watch Big Bang Theory a few times. I just didn't and still don't get it. Modern Family. I never found it funny. Maybe the jokes evaded me or something, but never found it funny. I don't watch shows really, but my friends and I watched Velma last year and my god, it was terrible. Call Me Kat. Miranda was a brilliant show. Call Me Kat made me want to claw my eyes and ears out. For me, it's Has Been Hotel, Hello the Boss, Family Guy, and mostly just a bunch of adult animation. Bob's Burgers and The Office. I don't find neither funny at all, and I've seen lots of episodes. That Mrs. Maisel one. Couldn't get past the first episode. The stand-up just wasn't funny. Tacoma FD. But it may just piss me off how obviously Southern California the setting is. The most unfunny show that's supposed to be funny. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Big Bang Theory. I think I wasn't the intended audience. I didn't get half the jokes. Schitt's Creek. I watched 2 seasons waiting for it to get better, but it never did. Don't have to open the comments to know this is not gonna be good for Chuck Lorre. Most unfunny show that was supposed to be funny. Big Bang Theory, hands down. Seinfeld, The Big Bang Theory, Friends, 2.5 Men. Shows like that. Honestly, America's Funniest Home Videos ... The videos too funny. Know how they had that 70s show and it was awesome. Try the 80s show, To Broke Girls. It was an entire show made up of bad one-liners. It's a tie between Big Bang Theory and 2.5 Men. Mindy Kaling's Scooby-Doo might be the worst show I've ever seen. Friends, such forced humor. Always like, look how funny I am. I'm ready to receive the throne rocks, but The Office, Drawn Together. The jokes were forced and offensive. 2.5 Men. It was actually kinda depressing.